I was going to speak this morning at an online conference, but it got canceled. And let me get the lighting straight on my face or not on my face. I don't know. So I thought I would just pop over to Zoom, and my computer's probably going to do that the whole time because like a setting got on and I don't know how to get that off. And I went to notifications anyway. So you're just going to have to deal with the light and the ding. But I sometimes when I just have a message and I'm prepared to speak on a stage and I'm all ready and I'm like I just want to put it somewhere. So you're gonna get it today. And it's gonna be really, really good because it was so good. I was like, no, I have to put this somewhere. So let me compose for a second. So I'm actually going to pretend that I'm standing on the stage where I was going to give this talk, and let's see how it goes. So I am a generational cycle breaker. And I'm so proud to say that. And really, it's because the Lord, that's better. The Lord helped me break cycles of trauma and abuse that were given to me. And not that my children didn't experience pain, but I really see it as God took me out of my family, helped me heal, helped me rewire things in order to parent my children and change our generational line and my legacy. Okay. And that was such a gift to me. It was the only thing that I wanted. I wanted to give my children a better life than I was given, and God helps me do that. So, my parents were teenage parents and they had hurt and pain of their own. There was narcissistic abuse, there was codependency, and really their unhealed wounds affected me. And because of it, as a result, I became a teen mom at 19. And I really started walking down that same road of trauma and abuse with my children. And I was just perpetuating the things that I saw and believed and the things that were done to me. And I remember in a moment, my oldest daughter was 2 and I spanked her. And she ran. I remember her face of terror. And she ran and hid behind the, oh my gosh, curtains. And she was afraid of me. And I remember in that moment that it broke my heart. And I sat back and I thought, wait a second, I hated the way that I was raised. I did not have a good connection with my parents. It was abuse. It wasn't just like they made some mistakes and they didn't do a very good job. It was like, no, it was straight up abusive, psychologically, mentally, somewhat physically, a little, And then I was looking at my little daughter and I was thinking, I don't want her to have that. And so I did everything that I could. I started parenting classes and I went to therapy and I read self help books. And I didn't know the Lord at that time. So I was just like trying to get things to me the best that I could. And what I realized 24 years down the road is that actually what I was going on was not a parenting journey so much, and I'm never going to give parenting tips, but what I got to go on was an emotional healing journey. God actually led me through, even before walking with Him, He led me through heart healing and healing the wounds that I carried. Because what happens, and we know this, it's kind of buzzwords now, but when we are triggered, we have triggered pain come up from people that like bump into us or poke us. And what we do in response is we get angry, we're afraid, we lunge back, or we pull away, or we use emotions to punish or whatever. And all of those things are abusive. They're actually traumatic for the people experiencing them. And so, what I got to do is again go on that emotional health journey. And God led me to all the heart wounds that I carried, all the belief systems that I had. Yes, there were some practical implementations. There we go. He taught me how to practically parent and how to practically set boundaries and speak up for myself and teach my children how to do that and set limits. And, there were some practicality parts of learning, but really it came down to this emotional health journey. I think the thing is, I loved my children enough to want to change. And I found 3 things is that I learned how to heal past pain, face my fears, and then leverage my future to actually step into my future feeling empowered feeling connected to who I am, and able to really manage hurts and pains and anytime fear came up. Because I found that pain and fear were the two main things that triggers us as parents or educators or people in the world that we respond to. So if someone triggers us, it's either deep hurt and pain of like, I'm not enough, I'm inadequate, I'm going to be left out, I'm going to be rejected, I'm going to be abandoned. There's pain there, but then there's also the fear side of, oh my gosh, I'm going to be rejected, I'm going to be abandoned, I'm afraid of those things, I'm afraid I'm not enough for you. And in a moment of those triggers and our survival responses, we really have both sides. I have pain around this, and I'm afraid that this is true. Okay. And so I'm going to show you a little bit how to do this. A little bit, like, because it's a quick video. But in order to face some of your pain, you have to have the perspective that it's pain and it's just pain. And so once I got the perspective that pain just needed comfort and healing, then I knew how to address those things. So you essentially allow your triggered moments to point to pain. They are like the car engine light that comes on when it's like, hey, something's going wrong in your engine. A trigger is pain somewhere in you that needs to be addressed. And so what I like to say is in a moment when, so let's say your children trigger you, your spouse, or your classroom, like I'm a teacher, so sometimes my students will trigger me and it's triggered pain. What do, you stop. You don't say anything unless you want to say like, hey, I need a minute. Or sometimes with my children, I'll say, I'm really triggered right now. I need to go take care of myself. And you go away. Okay. And now you don't go away because it's bad or shameful or wrong. You go somewhere private, especially if you are breaking generational, like you're rewriting some of these emotional health techniques. Okay. Our parents didn't do this. So our generation, millennials, and a little bit after, it's our job to kind of say the buck stops here and I'm going to figure out how to take care of this place. And so what I would do is I'd go in my bedroom or I'd go on a walk and I would connect to my heart in a way. And so it's super simple. So close your eyes, put your hand on your heart. You do one, you can do two, it doesn't matter. You are just connecting with like, hey, what's going on? And so these are the questions I say. I say, hey, what's going on? Okay. How old do I feel? What's happening? What's the main emotion that I feel? And I let those questions really guide me to the root of the pain. And so if you're doing this, if you're practicing this, or next time you're triggered, practice this. When you ask your heart what's going on, you may not get an answer at first, and that's okay. When you ask yourself, how old do I feel? You may get a picture of yourself or see yourself at like, or just feel like, oh, I'm 10 right now. And this is what's going on. Essentially what you're going to do is you're going to reparent that place. You're going to be the nurturer, the comforter, and the parent that you needed in that moment when you were 10 years old. And our parents couldn't be that for us. You're going to go back, essentially. And so what that looks like is as you're connecting with yourself, you're like, oh, I'm 10 years old right now. My friend rejected me. That really hurt. I had no one to comfort me. What you're going to do is you're going to see your adult self go connect with your 10-year-old self. And you're going to use your imagination. You're going to say, oh, I can see us on the playground where I was 10 and she's sitting against the wall and she's crying. And I'm going to go sit with her and I'm just going to start to comfort her. And really the key is just, what would you say to her? And you're going to know the words. You're going to know how to sit next to her. And maybe you'll say, hey, what's going on? And can you share some of that with me? What's happening? And kind of bringing that comfort. Oh, that sounds really painful. I'm so sorry. So-and-so doesn't want to be your friend anymore. That's really hard. And this is reparenting. This is being that parent, that person that we needed in that moment emotionally. And it's actually, and you're going to stay with her until she's regulated and okay and feels better and comes out of that moment. Okay, That's how you're going to bring healing in those moments. Directly after that trigger is going to go down, you're going to be in your front brain. You're going to be calm again. You're going to be able to communicate with people around you. And then you're going to do the same thing when or if fear comes up, because sometimes it's not just pain, but you're going to be triggered. And fear is scary to face, but I guarantee you can face any emotion that comes up for you and you're going to be okay. So you can feel the depths of it. What we do is when we get triggered in a moment, I'm like, oh, I feel really, that hurt, or I feel afraid. And what we do is we want to stifle it because we don't want to feel it. And really healing is don't stifle it, allowing it to come up. Sometimes I say, like, allow that to wash over you. You are going to feel the intensity of the fear, because in that moment, when you bring comfort, it's going to be the most healing in that fear. Okay, so I'll use an example of mine. I always had this fear of abandonment. I didn't have my dad around when I was young, and then my mom, our dynamic was kind of like I had to please her, or I felt like I would be abandoned in the moments, not maybe physically, like I don't think she would leave me or something like that, but she would definitely abandon me in those moments. And so I had this heart wound of abandonment. And so what I learned is to people please, and I learned to take care of other people in order to not be abandoned. And that was the fear. And so when I was healing this place and unlearning this place and coming back to myself, I had to face that fear of abandonment over and over and over again. It was like choosing myself and saying no to a person or whatever the practical thing was. Let's say I said no to someone and that fear came up and it was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be abandoned. You can use reparenting and go to that moment of fear as well. So it's going to look the same. Oh, I'm really afraid right now. How old do I feel? Well, I feel 15 and this is what's going on. And I feel like I'm going to get abandoned if I say no. So I just say yes. But now as an adult, I'm saying no. And I'm facing that. And what you do is you sit with that moment and you say, actually, I am never going to abandon you. They might abandon you because we can't control people. You might get abandoned by them, which looks like you've lost their friendship or the relationship or whatever. But you really abandon yourself every single time you say yes to someone else and you say no to yourself. So breaking that cycle of maybe being abandoned by one person is so much better than constantly abandoning yourself. So I would come back here and I would say, I'm not going to abandon you. Even if they reject you, even if they abandon you, I am going to stay with you. I'm going to choose you. I like you. I like your personality. I like how you speak. I think you're pretty. I think you're this and that. And you're building that relationship with yourself stronger than that can emotionally withstand someone abandoning you. Oh my gosh, abandoning you. That's the point. Is if I have this internal strength, emotional resilience of connection with myself where I'm not going to abandon myself, then I can actually be abandoned by somebody, anybody, and it's not going to hurt as much and it's not going to be as scary as what I thought it was going to be because I'm okay in here. Does that make sense? So I hope these things are helpful to you and you try them out and they're a little bit of practical implementation of what I was going to speak about. I guarantee the more you do this as the mom, as the dad, leading your babies. I talked about this earlier, my oh my gosh, my image of this was like, you're a mama duck. And when I was walking down the road and I was leading my little baby ducks down trauma and abuse, and they were just following me down that path. And that's what we do. We just follow our parents. We're like, yeah, this is exactly where we're supposed to go, right? Have you ever seen baby ducks like fall in a drain or something because they're just like blindly, following their mom, following their parent, which is what we're supposed to do. And when I got off on a different path and I started out on the healing path and I met the Lord and I was emotionally healthy and I was setting boundaries and I was using my voice and I was living empowered and I was not putting my emotions and abuse on them. And I was taking care of myself. And I already said setting boundaries, taking care of myself, modeling that behavior. My baby ducks started following me down that path, right? I was able to rework our family system. I was able to stop some of the bad habits and heal some of the pain and face some of the fear, and then start us down a new path of emotional health and freedom. And I want that for parents and their teens. It's not easy. Like the practical implementation is like the techniques are kind of easy to learn, but it's hard to do in general. It takes a lot of emotional maturity. It takes a lot of emotional connection. It takes a lot of intentionality, humility, willingness to say I did it wrong, willingness to face the pain, willingness to like carry the weight of being a cycle breaker for your children. But in those moments of these like 6 to 10 years of healing, I was able to not just heal like my relationship with myself and be an emotionally healthy adult, but that led to opportunity. That led to healing my finances, and I was able to provide more for my children, be more emotionally available, more emotionally connected, more connected to friendships and people around me. It's just like the single thing that I will hang my hat on, that if you go on an emotional health journey, that you will come out the other side completely healed, completely changed, and your life will reflect the work that you've done. And I can say that because I've been there, I've done that. Sorry. And I've done the work, and I would do it time and time again, no matter how painful it was to face those moments and to learn from them, to grow through them, to heal them. I would do it again because of the results and the outcome on the other side. And so I hope you take this message as like empowered, like inspired, like, oh my gosh, I can actually face my internal world. I will know what to do. Take some of those practical reparenting tips and start to apply them when you're triggered. And I'm sure you can find ways to empower your voice, set boundaries, do all the practical things of parenting, relationship styles, and emotional health. And then if you want to work on this further, I take one-on-one clients. I take group, like coach group women through emotional health and healing. And then I have recorded courses and workbooks and PDFs on my website in order to help you and equip you with the same journey that I just went on with the Lord and deeply in those emotional health and regulation places. So check out my website if you are looking for more tools in how to do this for yourself. And I hope you have the best time healing and you're blessed on your journey. And I will see you next time.